Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new podcast, episode 150 of your favourite Formula 1 show. Yes, we're halfway through another century of Knowing Wheel. Of course, we're now into the winter break once again. But I'm joined as always by Jamie183. How are we doing, my guy?
I'm good. I was away for the weekend, which was lovely. But we're back and we're ready to talk about Formula 1 all over again for 4 months. So hopefully not in one episode, but yes, lots to go over in the Formula 1 world. Actually, not so much. There's one actual bit to go over, which wasn't in the notes. Since last week's
No, well, we haven't really
episode.
got notes this week, have we?
No, the worst kept secret in the paddock. Logan Sargent has retained his seat. So well done, Logan. We'll see him
Give him
again
a round
in
of applause.
2024. Well done.
We've basically been saying this for the last
Didn't want to
few
ruin
weeks,
the
haven't we?
microphone there, so I just did a soft clap.
No. So, to be honest, we spoke about this a few weeks ago, didn't we? Because it was the last driver that hadn't been confirmed. And it says it all when I already thought he had been confirmed for next year. But yeah, contracts are, signed, everything like that, as Fabrizio Romano would say, here we go. Is that a football reference, Jamie?
It's very good from you.
Thank you. But it does officially mean, for the first time ever in Formula 1, there are no driver moves as we head into 2024.
Well, don't speak too soon.
Well, yeah, we'll wait and see. However, I don't know if you've seen this, Jamie. I believe it's all but 5 drivers' contracts expire at the end of next year. All but 5. So I believe it's Verstappen, both McLarens and both Mercedes. Apart from them, everyone else's contract is up next year.
Leclerc?
So Leclerc is not signed past 2024.
Wow.
I believe he's on a rolling contract that they can add
Rolling
to
down a cliff
each year.
this season.
Well, basically, yeah. But yeah, I don't believe Leclerc has got a contract extension past 2024 as of right now, which is wild.
So it could be a big year. They're going to hype it up once again.
We are going to gas it up once more. But today, though, we've got a bit of a fun podcast to go through. Now, Jamie is going to be working a lot behind the scenes. However, it's time for our F1 2023 predictions review. Yes, 49 episodes ago, episode 101, the start of the 2023 Formula 1 season, Jamie and I ranked all 10 teams in where we'd finish in the constructors and all 20 drivers. Now, we didn't predict that De Vries would get sacked halfway through the year or that Ricciardo would break his wrist after coming back to Formula 1. So we're missing a couple of drivers there. But to try and make it as simple as possible for ourselves, we're going to run a golf format in which the lowest score is going to be your winner today. So it kind of gives us a good chance to run back through where we predicted everyone for the 2023 season and just how far wrong we got most of them.
Yes.
So for every one you were out, you gain a point. And of course, lowest score wins by the end of this.
So the perfect score would be 0, but obviously that's not going to happen.
No. Otherwise, we should have put a lot of money on it. And, of course, there's a little bit of trick work as well with Ricciardo and Lawson in. Means some drivers move up some spots and other drivers, obviously, don't move around at all. So we're going to run this back in the real-life 2023 Constructors order, which was Ferrari, Jamie, obviously finishing... Sorry, Haas even.
Sorry?
Haas Ferrari.
I was good.
Finishing last
this season.
No, finishing last in the constructors. And we both predicted them 8th overall. So instantly,
We did.
That's 2 points.
Instantly 2 points each, which is not the best work from us. Where did their drivers finish, out of curiosity? I know that Hulkenberg did beat Magnussen, which I will stand on the hill very proudly of.
Yeah, because you did get that. Well, you got that correct. So if I remember correctly, drivers-wise, Magnussen was 19th, Hulkenberg was 16th.
But effectively, Magnussen was 18th because he lost to Ricciardo.
Yes.
So 16th and 18th, I actually put them 15th and 16th. So slightly too optimistic there. Hulkenberg in 15th gives me a +1, and Magnussen gives me a +2.
Yes.
And you put them, Nico Hülkenberg, in 16th. So bang on. We're on for a good start.
I'm doing well. I predicted Hulkenberg. That's one
in the
to
right
me.
place. And in 14th, you put Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah, we don't talk about Magnussen.
So 4 out there.
So despite getting one of those correct,
you're doing worse
I scored worse.
Why do we think they were going to be good?
Because they finished like 7th last year, didn't they?
They did.
Or 8th last year.
And technically, they improved their driver lineup.
Yeah.
Well, you don't agree because you put Hulkenberg down 17th, so that's 16th.
No, I still believe Schumacher would have done worse than that. I think...
Fair enough.
Well, what's it? The fantastic stat, isn't it? That Haas had scored more points by the end of Saudi Arabia last year than they did all season this campaign.
Yeah.
Which is pretty disastrous. It just was not a good year for Haas, was it? All things
not
considered.
At all. And there was a good car in there somewhere, I think. Especially early season, but it was just poor in its tyres, really poor in its tyres. Because Hulkenberg got, 7 or 8 Q3s? He was ringing the neck in qualifying, not so much in the race, sadly, but he was quite limited. But yeah, disappointing season for Haas, obviously finishing last for the 3rd time in 4 years?
No, second time.
Second
They've only
3.
finished last once before.
Right, yeah. And they definitely had a better car this time round than they did that time. Although, I don't know. That, I'm not sure.
And no, this is something we definitely need to talk about one day. I reckon that Haas was actually not a bad car. They just had 2 awful drivers in it. Obviously, especially for Mick, obviously because he couldn't, he had nothing to sort of base it on or build it on. I reckon that car was not the backmarker everyone makes it out to be. I don't believe Haas have ever built a true backmarker still. Not that any team really did this year.
No, it's true. It's very true. So we're slightly too optimistic there, which is a shame, but we shall move on.
Yeah, the same can also be said, Jamie, for Alfa Romeo. Obviously finished 9th in the real life 2023 season. We both predicted them again in 7th. You'll notice there's a running theme of us predicting teams in all mainly the same order. Zhou Guanyu 18th, Bottas 15th.
Okay, but Zhou did lose to Ricciardo, so effectively, again, was 17th.
Yes, yeah.
We actually both got the drivers in the right order, at least, so we both thought Bottas would do better.
Yep.
I put Bottas in 12th.
I put in 13th.
A solid +3, and a solid +2 for you, so that's good. I put Zhou optimistically hopium-induced 13th.
Yep, that was brave.
So that's a +4, and you put him down in 16th.
15th.
So only 1 out.
15th.
Oh, 15th, sorry. Yes. So 2 out. Again, too optimistic. We had a bit too much hope in the Alfa Romeo dream team. I think, to be honest, with the lower midfield teams, I kind of just pick some teams I want to back because my favourite drivers drive for them and put them slightly too high.
Yeah, it was a weird one, wasn't it? I think because we both, and to be fair, when you look at probably the overall pace of the car, Haas and Alfa Romeo probably deserved to be ahead of Williams and AlphaTauri. It was just Williams and AlphaTauri nailed the idea of, well, you're not going to score points most weekends, so you may as well have a car that can score points on a few weekends, but a fair few points.
I would say, on average, Alfa Romeo probably had the 7th or 8th fastest car. But it was just, they never had more than the 7th fastest car, really.
They consistently were 7th to 9th.
Yeah.
Oh, and don't forget Hungary.
Whereas Williams and AlphaTauri obviously just rocked up randomly in 6th or 7th on occasion. So, yeah, it was a learning season for Alfa Romeo. They're obviously keeping the same drivers next year, which is good news for Zhou Guanyu fans, such as myself.
All 4 of you.
Yep. And, yes, it was a disappointing season. Again, the car had some sort of pace locked in there somewhere, I believe, but just never enough to really trouble the points very regularly.
No, again, it seems like another year, didn't it, where Ferrari B teams were kind of, left out a little bit. And, especially, it's just weird, isn't it? Because, of course, it's kind of dependent on Ferrari's momentum, isn't it? For both of those teams, it still feels like. Obviously, Haas take as many parts as they can from Ferrari. Alfa Romeo, not so much. But they might be one, obviously, that's kind of just everything's thrown away at the moment and all effort is on the future. I mean, they might be in for a couple of really bad seasons as Sauber again.
Yeah, hopefully not. But they could be. They need to do well enough that Audi don't pull the plug.
I don't believe Audi will. We've seen all the speculation, haven't we? But I don't believe they will. Moving on, though, up into P8 was, of course, AlphaTauri. We thought they were on a big run of momentum towards the end of the year, and they did almost pip Williams to 7th. But of course, Nick de Vries, 22nd overall, the only driver to not score points. Of course, gets bumped up to 20th by virtue of Lawson and Daniel Ricciardo. However, Yuki Tsunoda, a very, very good job in P14 in the end, didn't he? Was comfortably better than all the backmarkers with the exception of Albon.
Yes. Yeah, so sadly, we, as you might expect, had slightly lower hopes than what amounted for AlphaTauri. I put them in 10th place, in last place, so that's obviously another +2 there. And you put them 9th, so just a little +1, so you're actually slightly beating me at this point, but on the constructors at least. Drivers-wise, this is going to be fun. I put Tsunoda in 19th. No, wait, what?
Yeah,
no, I didn't.
You did. You put
We
Tsunoda
both put
behind
De
De
Vries.
Vries. We both said. I think our logic behind it was that we both thought De Vries would pick up he would get the count back.
Oh, yeah.
Like
We said
Kubica did on Russell a couple of years ago.
We said Tsunoda would be better, but they'll be the other way around.
Yeah.
But so clearly very wrong there. Tsunoda up in 14th, nets me a +5, oh dear, and nets you a +4 because you had an 18th place.
Not great for either of us
Nick
there.
de Vries gets me a +2, sadly, and you a +3. Clearly, our title of the podcast needs some rethinking.
Yeah.
So far, this is not going great.
It's not perfect, but to be fair, we haven't had any that are alarmingly out so far.
No, only the +5. Any more than 5, I'd be a little concerned.
Was that you on a +5? Was
Tsunoda
it?
got me a 5. Yeah.
Ah, yes. Yeah. It's a shame in the end for you.
Yeah. It was a weird year for AlphaTauri. I think we kind of just thought they're the only team that aren't here to win in Formula 1, which is a weird concept in itself. But that I kind of just thought that would leave them in last place. And towards the beginning of the season, it kind of looked like it might be coming true.
I remember being very, very vocal, saying that AlphaTauri wasn't that bad. It was just De Vries was doing a shocking job and Tsunoda was doing okay. Going up against Ricciardo, though, he has showcased that, this year he has been a quickish driver. But of course, basically what happened was AlphaTauri slapped on a load of parts towards the end of the year, Red Bull parts at that, and from Singapore onwards, they probably were the 7th fastest car.
Yeah.
Every weekend reliably, but just could not quite get to Williams.
No, they gave it a good go, but Tsunoda's stock has definitely gone up this season, I think, which is a solid season for someone driving a midfield car, to be honest.
Yeah, but he'll be off to Aston Martin anyway, won't he, in the future?
Yeah,
so
I
it's
think
not
that's nailed
too big of a concern either way. Williams, of course, 7th place overall in the Constructors' Championship. Williams we did not have high hopes for as we went into the season. I predicted him 10th, you predicted him 9th. And drivers-wise, of course, Sargent was effectively 19th because he beat De Vries, but was actually 21st. But Albon, P13, it really was a fantastic year by young Alexander, wasn't it? Who I think beat both of our expectations.
He did. We both put Sargent P last, so only the +1, which is not bad going. And I put Albon in 17th, which is respectable. What's that? +3?
+4.
No, +4. Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Well, it's worse news for you because you picked him 19th.
Oh, I've got a +6 on Albon. That is a disaster. I really
Indeed,
did think Williams were just going to scrap this season.
Yes, and obviously James Vowell's doing a great job, I think. We can all agree. Probably second team principal of the season. Him or Fred Vasseur, probably.
Why would Fred Vasseur be team principal of the year?
He's the first year at Ferrari, got a win. What can you ask?
You win a championship with Ferrari? They got absolutely... They did finish 3rd overall. They did worse than last year. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Fred's to blame for all of that. I really like Fred as a team principal, and I think he is probably what Ferrari need to steady the ship. But, I mean, really, can you argue either again? I'd say Vowles, actually, has probably done the best job. And I know I can already read the comments now saying, oh, look at Christian Horner. It was Adrian Newey that did that. And yes, I get it. They've kept him happy. Yeah, Christian, you can have a little bit of credit. But I think James Vowles is definitely my TP of the season.
I think it's hard to go against the man who led the team to the most ever wins in a season. So, but Vowles will be second place. He's
Hang on a
been
minute.
excellent.
You
and
just
he's a
put him
great
third,
communicator.
at least behind Vowles and Fred
No,
Vasseur.
I said Vowles was second best behind Horner. I was saying it was.
No, you said Vasseur.
No, that's
You
not what
just
I meant.
did.
Maybe it was poor communication. I meant Horner is obviously number one for me.
Right. Okay.
And Vowles and Vasseur are battling for P2.
Fair
So-
enough. Fair enough.
Yes, not the best. Although we did have Albon to beat Sargent, but I don't think we deserve much credit for that.
No, exactly. We both knew it was going to be a struggling.
The Williams
first
are on the
year.
up. Could they be troubling Alpine next season?
I think Alpine are really going to have to watch their backs next year. Not
There
necessarily
you go.
just from Williams, but I think AlphaTauri as well
You heard
could
it here
be.
first.
Yeah, I think Alpine could be in big trouble next year, or they get a performance buff from Formula One. Speaking of Alpine, though, Jamie, probably the loneliest team, wasn't it, heading into the into this season, or by the end of this season? You know, questions I'm sure are being raised within that organisation. You've seen Aston Martin and you've seen McLaren both showcase that it's possible to get with Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull at the top of the table. Alpine still aren't managing it. However, we both did predict them P5 ahead of McLaren this year, so the less said about that, the better. I predicted Ocon would just pip Gasly. You said it the other way round, but we went 9th and 10th for both their drivers.
Both of us went 9th and 10th. So Gasly finished 11th, Ocon 12th in real life. So that gets me a 2 and a 2.
And me,
I think it gets
3 and a 1.
Yeah, so no difference at all, really.
No.
Yes. So sadly, both slightly too high, although we were massively lulled in by McLaren being way worse than we thought in testing. Well, they were actually that
early
bad.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, they were that bad until the old Austria buff, wasn't it? But yeah, Alpine really were battling themselves. They had a few. I think the drivers had fairly good seasons each, but just.
Well,
They've
it
been
was
treading
one of
water
those
in the midfield.
weird ones, wasn't it? Where it was probably quite difficult to have a bad season in that car.
I guess neither of them got trounced by the other, which is good. But I do think Gasly probably just about had the better season, obviously finishing ahead, but Ocon was very unlucky.
And got screwed over right towards the end of the campaign a couple of times as well. Gasly probably should have had a 15-20 point lead, especially when you look at like Vegas and stuff. But I think
Australia,
it was more consistent.
Well, they threw away a lot of points there.
Yeah, very, very odd season. But
But it
Alpine
is strange
got a lot of
because
work.
in the time that Alpine have been going through their 100 race plan every 100 races, Ferrari have dropped into the midfield and come back out again. McLaren have been in the midfield mire, probably.
Well, McLaren have done it about 3 times, haven't they?
Yeah, and obviously Aston Martin have as well. So it's like, how long are you just going to be chilling in no man's
Mediocrity.
land? Yeah, yeah, it's a strange one, but the drivers can hold their heads high. I'm not so sure about the organisational structure of that team, but
And the absolute chaos that it's been this year. Never forget Belgium, when pretty much everyone got sacked.
Yeah. The drivers are lucky they had engineers left at that point.
Yeah,
but,
bizarre. I think
very
Alpine
strange.
I think Alpine could be sold off soon. The fact that they brought in private investors.
Well, Renault
Clearly,
love
Renault don't
want
want to.
Formula One, don't they?
Exactly. Clearly, Renault don't want to throw the money at it anymore. I think there's more problems afoot in the future. Is all I'm going to say on that one. Let's go up then towards probably a couple of feel-good stories, wasn't it? Or one of them that was definitely a feel-good story early on in the year, and one of them that was kind of the talking point of the second half of the year. Aston Martin. I get that they scored a lot more points than last year, but they should not have been 5th.
Well, I would look in one direction for that.
Oh, yeah, so would I. And it's Lance Stroll, isn't it?
Yes, very much so. We both predicted him 4th, by the way, because we are so vanilla in this. Yes, Lance Stroll ended up finishing, where was it, 10th place?
Overall in the Drivers' Championship. Far too close to those Alpines behind him. And the fact that he got beaten by rookie Oscar Piastri quite handedly. No podiums this year for Lance Stroll.
The only driver in the top 12 to not get a podium, which is quite remarkable.
Yes, yeah.
It's
like Kvyat a couple of years ago, wasn't it? Where it was, Kvyat, the Williams, the Alfa Romeos, and the Haas.
Yeah, the top 7 teams, drivers, all got
podiums.
Apart from
Danny
Kvyat. And his teammate got a win. What a goat. Yeah, Lance Stroll scoring between Australia when he got P4 up until Brazil when he came P5. He had a 6th and a 7th a sixth and a couple of sevenths, which was something like 15 races. So,
and Alonso
yeah,
would have scored more points in one race on a few occasions than he did pretty much throughout that entire stretch.
Almost, yeah. So overall, it was a good season for Aston. I know Matt's going to rinse them and be like, you should have finished at least fourth, maybe third. But in terms of overall trajectory, they've got a new driver in, and he's been phenomenal, obviously, Fernando Alonso. And the team trajectory is on the up. In terms of, like, I know you look at position in championship, but looking at just pace and distance to the front runners. In fact, are they even closer in terms of time to the first place, just with how good Red Bull have been? I don't know. But yes, I think they can definitely take a lot of positives from this season. And yeah, Alonso is a very, very valuable asset. So I think they called that very well.
Absolutely. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that Aston Martin got everything wrong this year, because of course, you know, they have moved up the order. They have scored a lot more points than they did last year. But it feels like they ended last year with more momentum than they've ended this year, which is odd. I think, you know, don't get me wrong, they can look at a lot of the positives this season, but I think they've also hopefully going to look back this winter and go, right, okay, we did this, this, and this right, but we did this, this, and this catastrophically wrong. Because, let's be fair, again, they should have been comfortably P2 heading into the summer break. And even, you know, because it does happen a lot. A team will take the car direction the wrong way for the second half of the year, and you're on damage limitation. And yes, they came back strong towards the end of the year, albeit not in Abu Dhabi again. They seem to have just fallen off slightly. But they should have been comfortably ahead of McLaren if they had a competent second driver, and they should have probably been in the fight with Ferrari and Mercedes. All I'm going to say on the matter.
Well, you look at the Drivers' Championship, and Alonso was in the fight with Hamilton and Leclerc.
Exactly.
So,
well, Leclerc, not Hamilton by the end.
He was 28 points behind. Is probably in the fight, I would say.
Okay.
And yeah, Stroll is in the fight with Piastri and Gasly. So that kind of puts it in perspective. No disrespect to those two drivers, but the cars they're in, obviously, Stroll should be doing better. But I think this is very well covered material before. So
yes,
yeah,
certainly
it was a good
news,
season,
isn't it? By the end of the year. In terms of so we both got 1 point for Aston Martin being in the wrong spot.
We put them P4, and I remember being really, really worried to put them P4 at the start, because it's like they literally finished 6th last year, or 7th last season.
7th, wasn't it? Yeah.
They obviously finished 5th in the end. You put Lance Strulovic in P12. I put in P11. So I actually got an extra point there. A one fewer point, which is better.
You got him bang on. Well done, dude. No, sorry, you were 1 point. Sorry, out.
I was one out.
Alonso,
bang on so far.
He did well, didn't he?
P7.
Yeah, he did well to clutch up that P4 at the end of the year.
He did. He very easily could have finished 7th, and then we both got points. So screw you, Alonso.
Wouldn't have got points.
Yes, we both would have done well. Who plays golf? What a dumb sport.
Crazy. Fourth place, though, McLaren. Definitely, I think, a team to watch as we head into next year, isn't it? Obviously, we predicted them both in P6, because, again, they were nowhere at the start of the year. We both predicted Norris in 8th. However, you predicted Zhou Guanyu to beat him this year, and I said Piastri would finish 11th. Talk me through that choice, Jamie.
Well, I didn't think he'd drown in the sport. I just thought the McLaren was going to be horrific, and Norris would make a difference, kind of like he did in 2022, really, where the midfield was so tight. I kind of predicted that Alfa Romeo would be able to trouble the midfield, the likes of McLaren and obviously Alpine and that lot. So I was predicting a ridiculously tight midfield with Norris to kind of hold his head above the water just about, and Piastri to kind of be in it, which is why there's such a discrepancy between P8 for Norris and P14 for Piastri, which is what I predicted. To be fair, Norris had more than 100 points than Piastri.
Yes, yeah.
Which,
no, I accept, you know, Piastri... it's weird, isn't it? Because if you look at it on face value, Piastri didn't have a particularly great season, but there were a lot of occasions where, not saying he got thrown under the bus, but there were strategies that favoured Lando, especially throughout kind of the midway, team orders and strategies that favoured Lando Norris a bit more. But let's not forget, Oscar Piastri finished the sprint race in Qatar with a win, and Lando Norris still hasn't done that.
True.
You know,
and Norris is quite clearly right now the faster driver. So I think
would
it's right.
say that's gonna be more and more... Because remember, second
right now
after
Norris
Belgium, including sprints, Piastri actually did a better job in qualifying than Norris did.
Yeah, but Piastri's quali pace is better than his race pace. I think even the races he did out-qualify Lando always had him at arm's length in the races, generally.
On a few occasions, not always.
So
I think there's a little bit of salt in there, because you said Joe would beat Piastri like he didn't in Formula 2.
I like Oscar Piastri. I think he's great, but I do think Norris is next level right now. And obviously Piastri's still young. He's younger than me, which is concerning. So, I think Piastri will definitely be up there in his future, but right now he's needs to work on his race pace a touch to get with Lando in the races.
I think next year he is going to be more of a problem
it's a
for
rookie
Lando
season.
Norris.
I'll cut him some slack.
Exactly. I think Lando Norris is going to start having a bit of a thorn in his side, but I've said that for quite a while now. How many points is that then?
I put Lando 8th, which gets me a +2.
And me?
And you a +2.
Yeah.
Oh dear, where did Piastri finish? 9th.
A 9th, so I got +2 there, you got +5.
I got a +5.
Oh.
That might be a difference maker.
That could be.
Although we shall see. The front of the grid is obviously where the money is. So
Exactly. P3 this year. In the end, it was a very, very tight battle to the end of the year, wasn't it? Which I think we called heading into the campaign. But it was Ferrari that ended up P3 by the end of the year, which you did get bang on. I was slightly optimistic in saying they'd finish P2, but to be honest, heading into Abu Dhabi could very easily have happened, and looked like for a lot of Abu Dhabi it could have, had they not thrown Sainz under the bus.
Yeah, it was just bizarre what they were doing with Carlos Sainz.
I think it was, let's get the extra wind tunnel time.
I don't think so. The way that Leclerc was trying his absolute hardest to get P2 in the Constructors, I think if they were trying to get wind tunnel time, they'd have gone in that. Like, they would have just been like, yeah, just finish P2, don't try anything. To Leclerc. But he obviously did try his best to give the P2.
Yeah, I suppose.
But yeah, I think they were the only other team to win a race, bar Red Bull Racing, of course.
Red Bull
it's
winning.
Just a bit weird. It's very strange that the only, the wins this season just look bizarre, don't they? Because it's, 19 in P1, 2 in P2, and then 1 in, P7? Yeah. Which just looks ridiculous that 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th didn't win a race, but 7th did.
Oh, sorry, in the drivers?
In the drivers' championship.
Williams didn't win a race? What are you on about? Did I sleep through this?
No. Well, Alex Albon is not a race winner, sadly. But yeah, Sainz obviously took his one opportunity, the one real race where Red Bull were off the pace properly, and Carlos Sainz took home the win in Singapore. So he deserves credit for that, although he did lose to all of his rivals in the championship, other than George Russell, you could argue. And yeah,
Stroll, he beat Stroll.
Oh yeah, he beat Stroll, to be fair.
And Piastri.
Yes, indeed, he did. But I put Charles Leclerc P3, and he obviously was P5, which is a shame. And I put Carlos Sainz P6, and he was P7. So another little one there.
Not ideal for me.
Leclerc P2, runner-up in the championship, which did not amount to be the case. And Carlos Sainz P6 too. So similarly, +1. Is it a good season for Ferrari?
No. Right,
okay. No room for discussion.
I think, unfortunately, the whole idea in the end was, of course, they bottled a few races in the first half of 2022, and then the whole talk was how, Mattia Binotto, that famous quote, I don't see a reason why we can't win every race in the second half of the year. They then didn't win a single race for the second half of 2022. Mattia got shown the door, which is fair. I think Ferrari thought heading into this year it was going to be a lot more about being measured early on, potentially keeping their cards close to their chest, and Red Bull built a rocket ship. The fact that they'd lost out to Mercedes, there were a few races at the start of the year, I think Saudi is always the big one I remember, where Ferrari looked a distant 4th behind Aston Martin and Mercedes, and obviously Red Bull at the front. There never should have been a situation where Ferrari were that far behind. The fact that it felt like it was a clutch effort in many ways to even be in that fight with Merck to the end of the year, when a season beforehand you could have, had you played your cards right, still had a championship fight that went on towards the end of the year. I think, again, I think for Fred Vasseur it was all about steadying the ship, and they were probably helped that Red Bull had a rocket ship that Mercedes couldn't try and win a few races here and there.
Yeah,
but I think Ferrari got to go back to the drawing board.
The win does paper over the cracks quite a lot, I feel, because, they can be like, well, Red Bull had the measure of everyone, so we did well to get a win. It's that kind of thing where it's like, did you actually do that well? I think they did. I think they did okay, but it wasn't, it's maybe a 55% season.
I think the problem with it is since, 2005? With the exception of a couple of seasons here and there, Ferrari have basically always been P2, P3. And they haven't... And obviously 08, 07, 08, obviously they won a couple of championships there I forgot about. But for the last 15 years, they've been close, but no cigar. And of course that's the Ferrari curse, all this, that and the other you want to talk about. But ultimately... and you can talk about a budget cap now, meaning, of course, because they could just throw money at problems for so many years and still weren't making it stick. They've done well, but not well enough still. They're Ferrari at the end of the day. I'm going to steer. They like to use that cliche. I'm going to steer into that cliche for a minute. They should be winning more races, and they should be in more championship fights. Simple as.
I agree. Yeah, it's hard to disagree really with that. They really... In terms of value for money, they're probably one of the worst teams on the grid.
Oh, I reckon, yeah. The fact I've always said it's a sounding for the amount of money that Ferrari have had throughout the entirety of Formula One. The most impressive thing is how little they've been able to win in that time.
Yeah,
like they should have. This sport should have basically been called Ferrari throughout most of its 70-year history. Had that team had any sense of seriousness to it,
and in the last 50 years, they've had two spells of 30 years without a championship, sorry, 20 years without a championship, and now 15 years without a championship.
Staggering.
Yeah. Big shame.
Another team, though, that's in a bit of a bad spell at the moment, isn't it, Jamie? Of course, Mercedes. P2 overall looks great on paper, but of course, a long way back behind Red Bull there. George Russell, a pretty anomalous season, wasn't it, for the most part? 2 podiums in the end. Kind of got carried a bit by having a good final race in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, people just remember that all winter now.
Exactly, for P8 there. But Hamilton, I think an underrated campaign, slightly underrated for P3 in the end.
Yeah, it was. He had to have a very strong season. Obviously not nowhere near his best. Because his qualifying form especially seemed to drop off a cliff towards the end. But I think Russell had a really poor season, and I think by his own admission, he's very disappointed with that. I bought into the hype and put Russell above Hamilton, which is a bit embarrassing.
And I absolutely didn't.
No, so you put Hamilton B3, so you got some points there.
Bang on.
Well, you didn't get any points, in fact.
Yeah.
Russell P5, though, which got you a +3, although Russell definitely should have done better. I did even worse than that, because I put Russell P4 and Hamilton P5, so overall I got 6 there, and you got 3. So that's a bit rough. But I did put them second place, and obviously you put them third, so Constructors is my forte.
Apparently, even though most of them we put the same, it was just the 2 we put the other way round. You've done slightly better than me. I think, I remember talking about this at the start of the year. I think you fell into the hype, weren't you? That obviously Russell beat Lewis last year, and I think, to be honest, Russell, looking at it, has kind of fallen into that as well.
Yeah, he overrates himself, it feels. He's just a massive hype man for his own ability.
I still think a lot of people forget, of course, and I know, I'm well aware I've banged on about it more than once on this show. First of all, how many bad car setups Lewis ran at the start of 2022.
Yeah.
Imola, Saudi,
Bouncing
they're probably 2 of the
Baku.
big examples. Baku as well, where he was just trying stuff that Mercedes didn't know if it would work. It was kind of one of those shot-in-the-dark setups quite a few times, and of course they didn't work. And then Hamilton, basically from Canada onwards, was better than George last year, for the most part. Mm-hmm. And let's not forget as well, obviously he came off probably what I would imagine was the worst winter of his life. Because we can sit here and talk about whatever we like as armchair fans.
I can't imagine what he was going through.
I cannot begin to imagine how many nights you're up at 3 a.m. just, I would have thought, because Formula 1, obviously, if you're a driver, is your entire life. There would have been countless nights, I bet, where he woke up at 4 a.m. dreaming about that and that kind of thing, and or nightmares really, and that I think really, because let's be fair, would either of us have blamed him if he just hung up his helmet then and gone, I'm done, or even taken a year out? But he didn't. He came back, and I think for George Russell, obviously we got to the end of 2022, he got that win as well in Brazil, and there was probably an element of, hey, hang on a minute, I might be the big dog here.
Yeah, maybe I'm on top.
And I think, to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if it was Mercedes' plan as well. I think they were hoping that Russell would stay close to Lewis by the end of 2022 and maybe get the better of him in 2023. Unfortunately, I would also say that people talk about Alonso doing how well he's going at obviously his age. Hamilton's only, 3-4 years younger?
Yeah.
He is showcasing exactly the same kind of prowess.
Yeah. I think he does it a different way to Alonso. He's less showy.
Oh, absolutely.
Alonso.
Absolutely.
But he's still unbelievably fast. And especially the way he looks after tyres and the long stints, he's just phenomenal. So, yeah, 38 years old, will be 39 by the start of next season, was doing very, very well.
I think the thing is as well with Lewis, isn't it, of course, is people go, he spent all these years at the front of the field, he's never been challenged. I was, don't get me wrong, there was a couple of instances this year, yes, you kind of shoot your head at. Piastri, obviously Monza and Qatar are probably the two big ones. But I do think as well there's got to be a bit of credit thrown in, because when you look back at his early years in Formula 1, he's certainly now a much more well-rounded driver. Things like saving the tyres and things like that, which in a season like this comes into play when you go into the final race comfortably ahead. You can't lose any more places in the Drivers' Championship against what has been a very, very fierce pack this year.
Yeah, and it's a good job because he had a shocker in Abu Dhabi, so fair play. Yeah, I think he'll be disappointed with this season, but he's driven well. And that's
I think, he might be disappointed that he couldn't beat Checo Perez, but I don't think sensibly. Yeah, well, it's Mercedes' first winless year since 2011. I think the team are probably a little bit disappointed as well. But I think there's probably a bit of renewed hope in Hamilton himself. If there was any doubt creeping in, which he has said there has been on a couple of times in the last couple of years, I think he now knows full well if Mercedes rock up to Bahrain next year and they got a car that can fight Max, I think he's ready to do that dance again. And get his elbow. I pray to God he gets his elbows out this time.
Well, yeah, he does love a little fight with Max Verstappen, doesn't he? So I wouldn't say no to that. But yes, did we go over? Yeah, we did go over what we put them, didn't we? So that leaves just one team left, and I wonder how they got on this season. Red Bull Racing.
Yes.
Our favourites, our absolute favourite team, who
speak for yourself.
ruined the sport completely in 2023. But
they've killed
that's
it off.
what they're here to do.
It's the reason why there's only 6 people watching this podcast rather than 600.
Yes.
But yeah, you can't really fault them.
To be fair to them, you go into a sport trying to win everything you can, and that's pretty much what they've done.
Yep.
So, fair play. They obviously won the championship by an arm and a leg, and the rest of the body too. Max Verstappen, relentless champion, one of the greatest seasons by an individual driver of all time. It's hard to argue. Probably, statistically the greatest. I wonder.
No.
Yes,
Schumacher 2002. Podiums in
Depends
every
which
race.
stats you use.
Podiums in every race, Jamie.
Max was one off.
Yep, he was one off. You're absolutely right. Podiums in every race.
Yeah.
I'm not
a
even a Schumi fan. I'm not even. It says it all. I'm not even a Schumi fan.
Okay, the second best season of all time. Yeah, ridiculous. Only the third time a driver has completed every lap of the championship. Yeah, frankly, ridiculous. Alien.
Simply lovely, as he would say.
Simply lovely. And you know what? I am a fan of his. I do like to see him do well. I also am a fan of Formula 1, so I would like to see some interesting races at some points. But I am pleased that he's getting his legacy sorted out nice and early doors in his career.
I think that there was a small worry, wasn't there, for a couple of years. I think it's sort of 2017, 2018, when he was going through some of his crash-prone phases. Well, we were kind of there going, don't get me wrong, this kid has got the pace. But is he ever actually going to win a world championship? And of course, yes, we knew. He started at age 13. He was always going to win a championship. Just the laws of mathematics were always going to force it in what could well be a 25-year campaign or something like that. He was always going to win a couple. But
honestly, as soon as he kind of shook off Danny Rick from that team, he's been driving at a different level, I think.
I think that team
really,
obviously was allowed to get further moulded around him. But at the end of the day, there was a certain German and a certain Italian team that did that back in the mid-90s. For some drivers, it's what you got to do. Plain and simple.
Yes. And I think, to be honest, the turning point for me was after the Monaco crash in practice in 2018. Ever since then, he's been driving at a ridiculous level. And yes, the reliability's not always been there. And there's been a few mistakes or bad driving creep in, especially towards the end of 2021, where pressure massively got to him. But this season, he has been ridiculous, and like it's hard to argue with 19 wins and 2 sprint wins. No, sorry, how many sprint wins?
3, isn't
4
it?
Sprint wins.
Is it 4?
Yeah. So he's scored on average. He's got more than 25 points per race.
Was it still 25 at the end of the year? Yeah,
it was above 25. Yeah,
that's mad, isn't it? Absolutely mad. Helped, of course, obviously by those sprint races and the fast lap bonus points, but
and the car has been one of the best cars the sport has seen ever, but not quite the best. No. I think we both agree.
I think we'll both still give that to the MP4-4.
Yes.
But I think you can't take anything away from Max with the year he's had. Again, coming from someone that isn't a Max fan, I'd like to see him get put under a bit of pressure, see if this time around he can survive it a bit better than he did the first time.
Well, I'd say he survived it last time. He just could have dealt with it better.
Well, that's okay. But
you won the championship.
You're right. I want to see, even if it's not Lewis, I want to see sort of a Leclerc or a George Russell go up against him, get the elbows out. I think I just want to fight next year. Alonso, that would be
quite something.
I think the problem with Alonso doing that is it would be the end of one of their careers in terms of perception. And I'm not sure which driver I'd want to see it happen to more.
Speak up if you're a Hamilton fan right now. That's how it goes. Obviously, Max Verstappen, I don't know if you noticed this, he's 3rd on the all-times win list.
He is. It's mad. We said this, though, at the early on in the year, didn't we? We were like, Max could be 3rd by the end of the year. And then we were like, he won't do that, though. He'll be close to Seb, but he won't do that.
I said that he would overtake Senna, and you were like, no.
Madness.
And now he's 13 ahead of Senna. It's ridiculous. But,
he's done more races, though, than Senna, hasn't he, I think?
Probably.
Senna only did 10 years in Formula 1. Max is almost there with a lot more races a year.
185 starts for Max Verstappen.
Oh, Senna only did like 160.
160, yeah, wow.
That's mad.
Wow. It's been an insane season. But this is not a Red Bull loving affair.
No, it is not.
Matt is here.
Exactly. When Jamie does the podcast.
Back to the predictions. I actually got a clean sweep, which I'm very happy with.
You got them perfect. I will.
I bought into the hype that they made a ridiculous rocket ship and put Red Bull P1, Max Verstappen P1, and Perez P2. And you put Sergio Perez down in P4, which is not great.
To be fair, I almost was not far out. Had Hamilton just had a couple of better races later on in the campaign, and Leclerc just not crashed as much.
It's a lot of what ifs, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is a lot of what ifs, but it's not out of the realms of possibility, was it? With the way Perez has driven this year. He's had a worse qualifying average than either of those two.
Yeah, Perez has had a very poor year, and if he doesn't buck his ideas up, he'll be out of that team.
I think he'll be gone. My bold call before we head into the new year, he'll be out of that Red Bull car, ready for Daniel Ricciardo to get back in it for the Monaco Grand Prix. I'm saying it now. I'm saying it now. That's my bold call for the winter.
What's my bold call? Lando Norris to win a race.
That's before Monaco or just next year?
Just any race next year, not a sprint.
No,
win a Grand Prix.
Win a real race. I genuinely don't know who has known wheel better this year.
I think we both did pretty poorly, to be honest.
I don't know. I don't think we did badly. Bear in mind, we're trying to guess at a 20 on a lot of occasions. I think I had 1+6. You had a couple of +5s, didn't you, in there?
Yes, yeah. So my overall sum, given that 0 would be the best as possible.
And you could get upwards of like 600 points in this.
You could. If you did the opposite,
500.
You'd get a very high score.
Or like 481.
I got 46 points.
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
So that's less than 2 out for drivers and teams combined.
2. Oh, sorry, we're doing combined.
Yeah, right. Over 30 options.
That was just the drivers. Overall, I got 58.
Oh, sorry.
Combining with constructors too.
So you're about 2 out on average.
58 out of 60. No, wait, what?
No, it's out of like 480
out of 30,
or something.
Isn't it?
Well, it's 58 over 30.
An average inaccuracy of 1.93. That's not bad.
That's not bad going. At the end of the year. Have I done better than Jamie? I did better in our predictions this year. I've got to keep making sure I bang.
You're going to love this. You're going to absolutely love this. You scored 58.
So I did better on the driver's front, though, I assume.
You did.
I got 44.
I got 2 extra on the constructors. You got 2 extra on the drivers. So
2 less. Sorry, you mean?
Yes, as in you did 2 better. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I to be honest, I'm going to claim that as a moral victory because that's over 20 drivers that I was more accurate on.
But I was 12 out in total on the team, so that's like 1.2 inaccuracy. That's
not that difficult. I was 1.4 out.
Yeah, true. Yes, we do follow a predictable sport, sadly, but especially in 2023. We can hope that 2024 will bring new horizons and Zhou Guanyu will get a podium.
Yes, or maybe beat Oscar Piastri for the first time ever in his racing career.
Well, F4 Asia 2022.
Did Oscar Piastri compete in F4 Asia 20? Why am I even having this conversation?
I'm not sure
I completely forgot he showed up for that.
Yeah, against a bunch of kids. Easy win.
He just beat up some... Was that 2022, was it? Was that last winter? Or 2021 into 22?
Yeah.
So I'm getting ready for my Formula 1 debut. I'm going to go beat up some 14-year-olds out.
It was to get super license points.
I swear he already had them, though, didn't he?
Well, he would have done by the end of his F2 campaign, but at that point, he was just playing the field, wasn't he?
Absolute madness. Oh, Jamie, but that has been a very, very fun recap, though.
It has.
As we head into the winter.
I think we did right.
I think, the fact we tied goes to show just how predictable the sport is, but I'm going to claim the moral victory. I am absolutely claiming the moral victory on that one, because I got drivers
Back in the day, we used to only do constructors, so I think traditionally I win.
No.
But there we go.
No. But, as always, has any news happened in F1, Jamie, in the hour we've been rambling on?
I mean, I very much doubt it.
So do I, but you never know. You just never, ever know.
Not
of
that
course,
I can tell.
Quickly, we've got to mention it at the start of the show because Jamie just jumped in with Logan Sargent. We got, 3 podcasts left after this one going out on the Matt212 YouTube channel. They will, I believe, all be iceberg videos. We might do a quiz in the last week of 2023. So yeah, go get yourself subbed to the Knowing Wheel channel. We're up to 313 subscribers, 315 subscribers. So a massive thank you to all of you that have subbed over there. But yeah, Jamie, as always, it has been a pleasure. And we'll be back next week then with the iceberg. I'm looking forward to that because it has been months since we jumped into one of these.